Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today is Monday, September 14th, 2020, and here are the readings for today. The first reading is from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verses 18 through 24. Brethren, the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the cleverness of the clever I will thwart. Where is the wise man? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God the world did not know God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs, and Greeks seek wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to the Jews and folly to the Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. Today's Gospel reading is from the Gospel of St. John, chapter 19, verses 6 through 11, 13 through 20, 25 through 28, and verse 30. At that time, when the chief priests and the officials saw him, they cried out, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said to them, Take him yourself and crucify him, for I find no crime in him. The Jews answered, We have a law, and by that law he ought to die, because he has made himself the Son of God. When Pilate heard these words, he was more afraid, and he entered the praetorium again, and said to Jesus, Where are you from? But Jesus gave no answer. Pilate therefore said to him, You will not speak to me? Do you not know that I have the power to release you and the power to crucify you? And Jesus answered him, You would have no power over me, unless it had been given you from above. Therefore he who delivered me to you has the greater sin. When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judgment seat at a place called the Pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation of the Passover, and it was about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, Behold your king. And they cried out, away with him, crucify him. And Pilate said to them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then he handed them over to be crucified. So they took Jesus, and he went out, bearing his own cross, to a place called the place of a skull, which in Hebrew is called Golgotha. There they crucified him with 2 others, one on either side, Jesus between them. Pilate also wrote the title and put it on the cross, and it read, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Many of the Jews read this title, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city. It was written in Hebrew and in Latin and in Greek. But standing at the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing near, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that very hour the disciple took her to his own home. Then, when Jesus had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the spirit. Today we celebrate in the Orthodox Church the exaltation of the precious and life-giving cross. To us moderns, that seems like such a paradox. How can an instrument of torture and of ultimately death be a precious thing or a life-giving thing? But of course, we know the narrative of Jesus Christ. We know that he ascended the cross and that he did it willingly for us so that we really didn't have to. That through his cross, Jesus died, but also because he was innocent, his sacrifice becomes a sacrifice for the entire human race. If you would like to take a look at a scripture that speaks at length about all of this and the nature of who Jesus is and what he did, I recommend taking a look at St. Paul's epistle to the Hebrews. It's one of the most theological books in the New Testament, and it has a lot to say about the sacrifice of Christ and how it is made once and for all time, and how priests like me can offer sacrifices, but often we have to make them not just for others, but for ourselves. Whereas Christ, being sinless, never had to do anything for himself, but did it for us instead. The blemishless sacrifice, which is a very important concept in the practice of sacrifice found in the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament. And so we give thanks to God for, the cross. We're grateful that he ascended it. He didn't have to, but he wanted to. He wanted to save us. The only way that we could be saved is through him and through his cross. So today we remember that cross and various things that surround it, but the primary focus is that. And so we can reflect on that a bit, and we can reflect on our own lives and how the cross is a central part of who we are as Christians, and how it does serve indeed as an instrument of life-giving. I always find it interesting for all the people that wear crosses around their necks, like, well, this one, and the commitment that that entails. It's a reminder that we should bear our cross daily for Christ, and it is a reminder that he suffered and experienced anguish on earth, we too, in our own way, though not in the same degree as he did, may ourselves find a situation of suffering or a situation of personal anguish. And it is comforting, I think, to know that when we suffer and when we have difficult times and when we have to bear our crosses, it is comforting to know that Christ is the trailblazer in all of that. He reminds us, know that if the world hated you or hates you, it hated me first. And he also reminds us in the same gospel, the gospel of St. John, that he will not leave us desolate, that he will send the Comforter, and the Comforter will be with us, the Spirit of truth. And so in our struggles in this day, in this age, we continue to be supported and sustained by the presence of God in our own lives. Sometimes it's hard to see, sometimes it's easy to see, but the Spirit is always with us. If we cannot perceive it, then maybe a little harder work or a change of direction or reorientation of oneself is in order, and sometimes that happens. So we give thanks to God for the mysterious ways that he has taken care of us and saved us. And we give thanks to God especially for his precious and life-giving cross, that in choosing to descend to earth and then ascend on the cross, he has, through his death, given life to all of us who hope in him. So I pray that you will have a blessed feast today, you and your family, and I pray that God will bless you today and always. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.